every Saturday, I do a real talk session with one or two people who are owning it in their fields somewhere around the world. Today, I'm super, super pumped to be joined not only by a singer-songwriter extraordinaire, Ka, otherwise known as Vogue Hell, if you look on the description of this video, I was blessed enough to be in the National Cherry Blossom Festival Parade the year after she performed in the festival. So I'm really pumped that you're here. Thank you so much. And we also got David Wardrick, who is a phenomenal videographer, filmmaker, human that does magic things behind the camera. I'm sure he does magical things in front of the camera as well, but you know, I don't know much about that. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you for being here. So that was my I didn't even say your name, David. Videographer, filmmaker, David Wardrick, everybody. But before we get started, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell the world who you are?
Sure. Dude. Yep. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. As Emma mentioned, my name is Ka, and I am a singer and songwriter based in Washington, D.C. Really stoked to be here and have known Emma for a while now. She's obviously big on the D.C. music scene, and it's just great whenever I get a chance to collaborate with other awesomely talented, beautiful musicians like her, whether it's for music stuff or just to sit and talk and real talk. So yeah, thanks. Looking forward to this discussion.
Totally. David.
So hey, I'm Dave. So I am a visual communicator. It's really hard for me to say what I do because it kind of goes world or all over the place. I love taking photos, but I don't necessarily say I'm a photographer. But mostly I produce videos, so probably videographer is the most accurate one. Making videos is interesting in that I'm always telling someone else's story, and so I like to grab whatever information someone's having, whether they're a singer-songwriter or they're a rocket scientist or they're a cardiologist, and kind of figure out the best way to get their information to other people. A lot of times it's taking art brains or science brains and bringing them down to everyone else or different people. So that's me.
That's cool. You guys, yeah, you've both led really pretty crazy, interesting, insane careers. I mean, Ka, you recently, when I say recently, last year, it was 2018 or 2019?
It was 2018.
Right.
Yeah, it was two years ago. It feels like it was yesterday, but also really far away. I don't even know what day of the week it is right now. So.
Right. And on top of that, you also you released your album back then, but you also you record. I think your recording engineers and the label that you're working with is based in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yeah. So actually, I'm not a label. So I work independently like you. I think there's obviously some downsides to that, but I think much more upside, as you can probably attest to and imagine. We have a lot more ownership over our own creative process. So, but yes, you're right. Nashville, Tennessee is where I wrote and recorded my album because I have both of the producers that I worked with are based there. So one of them was a friend of mine who I used to record with at Q Recording Studios in Falls Church, and he used to be a sound engineer there. So we met years and years ago when I first started doing my YouTube channel and my covers and things like that. And then he and his wife moved to Nashville, and obviously when you get to know people and you really trust them and you work well with them, you kind of want to continue to do that. So it was a bit more of an effort, but I was happy to fly to Nashville every time we needed to, get some music done. So his name is Chris Raffetto, and Chris is actually a amazing vocal producer, mix engineer, all of that. But the gentleman that I actually co-wrote all of my songs with is a Grammy-nominated producer named Johnny Black, who's incredibly talented as a musician and songwriter too. So,
I remember that.
Yeah, you met him. That's right. You met him. You guys were drinking scotch together or something.
Yes.
Yeah, when you came to the album release party. And you had to, I think you had a photo shoot the next day, so you didn't do the after party with us.
No, it was unfortunate. I would have loved to have, but you know, like being an indie artist, you know, we run on very little sleep. So having photo shoots with very little sleep is not particularly fun.
Nope. Yeah, all of a sudden you're then like caking on the cover up and everything to hide the bags and stuff. But yeah.
And I'll be honest, I don't really own cover. Like my makeup selection is very limited. I'm not very good at that life. I just pretend.
Well, you always look fabulous.
Thank you. Another fabulous person, David. Tell us what you do. Tell us what's going on in your world.
So what's going on is, you know, the world has changed a good bit right now, and so just trying to find good adaptability now. You know, it's not that I'm rushing out with a camera to capture stuff, or I'm not rushing to a meeting location to hold an event. So now we're trying to find places and ways to still communicate the same amount of information, but in not necessarily new ways, because Zoom has been here for years, Skype and Facebook Live. None of these things are new. It's just that now they're being used a whole lot more. And so that's where I've been right now is doing a lot of video streaming, doing a lot of webcam records, even like on the creative side, more capturing photo shoots just remotely, having someone take their portrait by holding their phone up and working together with them to try to figure out a way to get a nice photo using just Zoom or using just iPhoto on the other side or something. So yeah, we've been doing that too. So
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
How does that even work?
I can't even do a bathroom selfie, let alone. That's probably why we need the professional to coach us through the angle and the imagery.
Well, because David, you've worked with some really high profile humans. I remember you sent me your website, which I put in the description of this video. And your show reel is prolific. You know, how do you coach like Obama to take a good selfie?
Never coached Obama to do a selfie. I do remember one time at a White House Easter egg roll, I think he saw me as the only brown guy with a camera and kind of gave me a little point.
Oh, nice.
So that's my one remarkable, memorable Obama moment. It's more about like it's adaptability and it's overcoming whatever obstacle there is. So let's say you and I are doing this video communication right now, but let's say I'm interviewing someone who's not as capable. So how can I get them on camera? How can I make it look better? How can we? I mean, the three of us have all put our cameras up at eye level, and I can't tell you how many cameras I start out with, and I'm just looking at someone's nose. It's all type of thing. It's like, you know what I mean? Let's take the camera, let's put it up higher. Let's, turn on a couple of lights, things like that, just to make everything better and to overcompensate for what is lacking in our ability to chat or the ability to communicate.
Yeah. How are you both like dealing with that breakdown, I guess, where we've all, I mean, at least for me, I've been on I've been self-quarantined, I guess, for 7 weeks now. It's like automatically I've had to kind of, pivot, buzzword of the week, pivot, doing everything online. How are you guys finding that movement, that, not being able to see one another and work together and actually give, have that energy transfer?
I think for me, I'm seeing it a lot like there's a lot of adrenaline rushes. Of specific projects that need to get done right now, and either I'm doing it on my own or I'm doing it with a team, and when there's a deadline attached and everyone's like pushing to get something done, it kind of keeps that focus and that whole thing of like, okay, so by May 2nd we got to get this video out. How are we going to do it? That problem solving and that teamwork is really what's probably kept me feeling kind of normal in this situation. Like, I mean, I was very early on. I was like, you know, it must really suck, you know, or not suck, but it must be really hard to be a member of like a submarine team, because even all of us are like, oh, we're locked in our houses, but it's like, yeah, I can go for a walk or a run.
Right.
Like, what do you do when you're just in a tube for 6 months, you know? So it's like the interesting thought of how to deal with that. I don't know about you, Ka, if you've seen some of the same things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think this quarantine has come with, or self-isolation rather, has come with some silver linings for sure. You know, in the past, or not in, I say in the past, like it's never going to happen again, but prior to all of this, you know, as a singer, you know, I engage with the audience, I perform live, I sing to them, I can see the way that they react, or, you know, if they like or don't like something that I'm singing or doing and whatnot. And getting out there, you know, of course, in the public is wonderful, you know, and we love to sing and perform. That's why we do what we do. But the silver lining, I think, in having to do everything virtually now is it's become more, you know, I don't have to build in commute time. I don't have to worry about like all the extra expenses and costs that comes with going to the gig and setting things up and renting a rig and, you know, all these things or whatever. So the overhead is very low, because it's literally just me with my audio setup and gear that I've got and being able to perform live. And I think, you know, it took a few tries, but I finally got to a point where the audio is now, you know, going straight into the phone, and it's kind of just sounds almost like a recording session in a way. So that's, I think, important. And you find, you know, it is weird to basically just be singing to your camera, right? I'm sure you can relate. But I think that's where the silver lining to that is it kind of forces us to engage with and talk to the audience more and get them to, you know, encourage them to leave comments or ask you questions and do the little emoticon likes and loves. Hopefully some of your people are doing that now on the Facebook side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I feel like in a way I've gotten a chance to get to know my audience a little bit better. People that I don't normally get to interact with that are, you know, tuning in from all over the world. And then I hope it's they feel like they get a chance to get to know me a bit better too, because there is that open forum and that discussion, that, you know, that interaction in the virtual sessions.
It's the thing that bothers me the most about it is that there's lag. That's you know, so like I'll say, like, you know, does anybody have a request? And
right,
you know, obviously I've got a very strong audience here in the States.
Yeah.
So the lag between them is not so bad. But when there's people in Brazil, when there's people in New Zealand, the lag's a little bit ridiculous. So it's a little bit kind of crazy. But you're right, like being able to, you know, really have that one-on-one interaction with people is been really, really beautiful.
And I think the sheer volume of the number of performances that we can do now, you know, I mean, it's kind of whatever we feel like doing, I think, you know, in some ways setting up more formal sessions like I've been doing on Sundays, or every now and then if the mood strikes me, just kind of hopping on and when I can, and you know, being able to sing to some folks and things like that. So that's definitely a silver lining, because I think we have more opportunity, or rather we can make more opportunity to perform for our fans.
Yeah. David, have you been like finding, first of all, what are the silver linings that you've been sort of finding? But second of all, like, because a lot of the clients, forgive me if I'm wrong here, a lot of the clients you've been working with up to this point have been relatively DC based, correct? Or do you travel quite a bit for your work?
Yeah. Most things I do is all DC type of thing. It's, you know, it's a business place of opportunity. You know, there's a lot of people in suits talking to a camera. So it's kind of what it does. So that's kind of how it is. But
has it maintained that way though?
Suits still kind of need to talk to someone in some way. So that's part of it. The communication still needs to go out. Scientific information still needs to go places, all that type of thing. So that's where we've been finding with the teams I'm working with.
Has that stayed in DC though, like, or now are you finding now that people are, reaching out to you from abroad to?
Mostly DC. Yeah, no,
Okay.
not many things. So the circle's pretty small of people I've been contacting, or either freelancers who I've been talking to get them doing other things. It's been kind of the same circle that I've always known. So maybe I'm missing out and haven't reached out farther. No, thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's one thing interesting about everyone having like kind of Zoom chats with their friends is that often it's still like the DC circle having the Zoom chat. And I was like, well, we could actually bring in other people. Like, why didn't we Zoom before? It's all that.
Right.
It's an interesting thought.
I don't know. I feel like, I mean, to that same point, now that we're, Kat and I are doing these live performances online, people who are in New Zealand who haven't seen me perform for a while, because they haven't lived there for 5 years, they're now getting the opportunity to see me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think that's one of the silver linings, as I said, with the virtual performances. We're reaching a broader audience, and we're as much as I'd love to be able to do world tours all the time, I mean, that's not possible, right? So the fact that we now have opportunities to get to people in different time zones, in different countries, etc. And then also, some of my fans or friends and family and folks that have kids that normally can't get out to, a bar or a lounge that I'm singing at 10 o'clock at night or something. And now all of a sudden they get to enjoy, my music with the whole family. So that's been nice too.
That's fun. Yeah. That's cool. So with like moving to, I don't know, like, is it just Zoom? Are we only Zooming? Are there other platforms that you're using to like live stream? How do you operate a photo shoot via social distance?
Oh, the first thing,
or a video shoot, I should say. Sorry.
There are so many. And I think on Twitter the other day I was ranking them, because anything you put on Twitter you immediately have to rank and profile. Right?
Did you get tweets back from like OBS and things going, why aren't we higher?
Not that popular. I'm not popular enough to get that pushback. No, I was just
not yet. We're working on it. Come on.
Zoom is definitely seems to be the best platform and the most stable, able to handle a lot of people. There's some other ones that seem to be more secure, if that's a big thing you really care about. But like in the art side, you kind of want people to see you. So what I mean? Nothing that's being said here in a conversation that isn't meant to be shared. So that's one side of it. But then there's some organizations, some groups that want to be more private. So your GoToMeetings or your WebExes and all those are better in that sense. And then you got Skype, which is the OG. I was looking back at some videos we had created like 2009, I think, and we had the Skype logo in them because we were so proud that we were using Skype to make across the world. We were doing, videos from from here out to the entire world, and it's interesting thing to see how the world's kind of progressed. But but you were asking about how to do a Zoom photo shoot.
Like how I mean, it's weird, at least for me. I recognize that that our fields are quite different, but having worked with you on my upcoming music video, which I'm super excited about, comes out at the end of the month. Like one of the things I really appreciate about working with you is that your energy is really great. You've got this beautiful way that you encourage me to do certain things. I'm like, okay, cool. But energy is such an important thing to me. And so doing live shows is super weird because I can only gauge from like the little emoticons or emojis or reaction emojis or whatever, or people's comments, which often have lag as to how the show is going. Whereas being a videographer or teaching someone to take a selfie, like there's only so much energy, I guess, you can pick up on.
Yeah, so yeah, the energy thing's really important. So the virtual shoot that I experimented on, because I mean, I always say, like, there's nothing new under the sun, right? We're all just kind of not necessarily copying off of each other, but we're all being inspired by each other. You know what I mean? We're seeing a groove, we're feeling a mood that someone else artist has done. So there's this spike in virtual shoots, or what is the iPhone version of video chatting? I'm forgetting what that's called.
FaceTime.
People call it shoots. I'm like, I don't have an iPhone, so I'm like, no, we're calling it a Zoom shoot. So like, one of the big things is that if you have like a professional camera, a big thing is the amount of visual pixels in that camera. Like, let's say we have 4,000 pixels in a regular professional camera's picture. So now if we get on Zoom, suddenly we've lost that. So how far down are we going? Well, Zoom, in general, the connection we were having, we had about 1,000. So now we're 1/4 the size of a normal picture. So that's kind of okay. That's not so bad, especially like once you throw your professional picture into Instagram, or you throw it into Facebook, you've probably lowered that quality that much anyway.
Gosh darn compression.
Compression is so good in music and so bad in photography.
Well, sometimes, I mean, not necessarily in music, because, you know, I don't know about you, Emma, but if I upload an audio clip or a video clip directly, you know, that's shot in 4K, and then of course, obviously, if we're mixing and mastering these tracks, they sound amazing, and all of a sudden you put them up in Facebook and Instagram, just like warble it down to this horrible audio mess, and then people are listening to it on their mobile device, and it's just like, oh, I give up.
It's so bad. And I've been doing these online concerts for, you know, corporate organizations and things, and via Zoom, and Zoom compression is a whole other level, because you know, like, it really limits your highs and your lows. That, you know, things just break out, and you're just like, oh, you missed my killer Whitney Houston. It's terrible. So Sean Smith just said that he's been doing his school on Zoom, and it's a whole new world. Have you guys been organizing any, like, doing any educational workshops or things online as well?
I personally haven't. I think that those that are, like, I know you're doing that, Emma, it's fantastic and it's amazing. I think it's another great way to give back, because I you know, for me, my main objective for when I'm doing my live sessions, it's so that I can hopefully bring a little joy to people's lives for, you know, the duration of that live set, and give back to folks. But I've personally not had a chance. And, you know, I hate to say it, because what else do I have right now in quarantine but time? But I've got a few other projects that I'm juggling, so I haven't had a chance to do any kind of workshops, but I think it's great. And shout out to Sean for doing his online schooling. I mean, honestly, the kids of this generation, I think, are going to, as challenging as the experience is for them now, I believe that in the future, they're going to become much more adaptable to different kinds of learning environments or meeting environments and things like that. And can I just say, can we just all agree that thank God for the internet? Like, to your point, you were saying, David, like back in the day when Skype was a thing. I mean, can you imagine if this whole situation was taking place even 10 years ago, let alone 15, 20 years ago? You know, I mean, oh my goodness, it's insane. And so thank God, because we now have this, as horrible as it is, you know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse sometimes with social media, but we've now got this endless entertainment, and there's all this like Netflix and Hulu streaming and all these things. And the other thing that has been pretty cool during this time is the amazing coronavirus related humor, like all the memes and, like, you know, things that people post are some people are just so clever. I'm just like amazed by it. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I'm not that funny. So
the increase in content that we've been getting has been, like, very inspirational.
Yes.
About like school, well, not necessarily specifically school related, but like one of my favorite things is to watch cooking shows that necessarily teach you step-by-step ingredients, but teach you the concept of cooking. So like I'm a huge fan of like the Bon Appetit group and like Binging with Babish, where you're not getting like teaspoon of this, tablespoon of this. You're getting like, this is why you add onions, because they do this to the meal. And so like I was so happy to see that like the Bon Appetit group was like shooting in their house, you know, just like Saturday Night Live, they were doing their own videos and it was great. Like, you know, it's like, that's great that, you know, maybe the content, you know, slowed down a little bit, but it didn't stop. And so that's such a good thing in people's hearts to be able to get that creative content, whether it be singing or whether it be educational information or whether it's just how to make a silly sandwich based on stuff that you have laying around your house, which is the latest Bon Appetit. Again, I'm plugging to watch Bon Appetit's How to Make a Sandwich video, but it's still like.
Well, I mean, exactly. I think
promoting them on this.
Yeah, they're sponsoring this podcast.
Tonight's episode of Real Talk has been sponsored by.
Exactly. Cut to commercial. No, but I think to your point, David, you're absolutely right. I mean, the volume of content has increased substantially. It's a lot more, you know, a lot of inspiration. We're kind of feeding off of each other's creativity and energy, and I think too, it's forcing people, businesses, entities like museums and things, you know, or whatever, to become a lot more, to think outside of the box as far as how are they going to remain present in this, you know, kind of isolated world that we're all in now. We're all in our own little bubbles. So, I mean, the fact that like museums like the Louvre or whatever are doing these virtual tours, I mean, that's amazing, right? I mean, not everyone can travel to Paris and see it in person. So that's really cool that they're bringing access, access to their venue like that, just as an example.
Hirshhorn was doing like a thing that they were showing you like some do-it-yourself home ways to kind of be inspired by some of the art at the museum. So they were kind of doing a virtual tour, and then they're also like, now you try it at home with this. You know, here's some food coloring and some paper, and have it drip down, and you know, and do your own versions, and let's see it. And that's awesome too.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
I need to get to more museums, man.
Virtually, you have access to all of them now.
I mean, but this is the thing. I think part of the issue for me, and going back to your comment earlier, Ka, about like comparing now to 10 years ago, you know, back 10 years ago, I was 21, and sorry, 10 years ago, I was 21, you know, and we weren't as socially, like, as obsessed with social media as we are now. And I feel like even back then I was super busy. I always found something to do. I always, you know, was writing a song or working out or doing something, you know, whereas these days, yeah, it's a blessing that we've got the internet, but holy crap, I'm so inundated with so much information that like, it's really, this is a beautiful time to dig deep and to be like, okay, what am I focusing on? What, you know, how am I going to bounce out of this? How am I going to, not bounce, what's the word? Like, you know, like, how am I going to, sorry?
Skyrocket out of this?
Skyrocket, yes. Yes, because I'm a rocket, if you didn't know. How am I going to skyrocket from this? And like, you know, in this one specific direction, because honestly, otherwise I totally would be that person that's up into like all hours of the day watching Netflix and exploring the Louvre.
Yeah.
Complete confessional time. We're in week 6 or 7 of this, and I still haven't finished a book. So,
well, I think that, you know, it's important for all of us to find our own rhythm and create our own schedule, be it formal or informal, right? I mean, I think some people are going to be more process oriented and more organized and, you know, make a checklist for themselves of the things they want to accomplish that day. Maybe it's reading 5 pages of that book or a whole chapter, who knows? But I think the most important thing for everyone to keep in mind, and I know it's been said a lot, is that this is, I think, true even without this pandemic, right? It's really important to find inspiration and ideas from other people, but to not necessarily compare your actions and your progress against other people. Because I think if you do that, then it's this constant battle of, wanting to be perfect and not actually doing something because you don't think it's perfect enough, or maybe you see someone else out there doing something and you're like, oh man, God, if only I, if I could do this or whatever. And I think that can become, sorry, that's one of my dogs shaking. His collar. I don't have like a random bell in the background or anything.
Like, preach it. Come on, talk to me.
Yeah. I think it can become dangerous, right? If you are, if you feel like there's this pressure that whoever is putting on you, like, wait, how have you not read a book yet? I mean, it's like we all need to just focus on ourselves and what makes us happy. And I think that in doing that, it will come across to other people, right? And then you're able to kind of check that box on, all right, cool. I made someone else or other people happy that day through something that I did, or, taking care of yourself. But I think to your point, Emma, I mean, it's like, if you want to explore the Louvre virtually, or if you want to Netflix binge or something, I think it's important to kind of carve out that time to do that for your own self-care, right? Yeah. Mental self-care, so to speak. But it can be a rabbit hole for sure if you're not careful.
Well, I think that's the big thing for me, is like when I posted about this last night, in fact, my computer's phone on, is that when this virus broke out, I was personally on the brink of a breakdown. Totally, my health was terrible. I was in bed for weeks. I actually think I might have actually contracted COVID back in January, because I had all the symptoms, and I was shot. And the thing for me that I've had to kind of realize is that, I don't know, I think this was the universe telling me, hey, Emma, you need to stop looking after everybody else for a minute, and you need to start looking after yourself. Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity, and to be kind to yourself, whether it's, if you don't, you talk about not finishing a book yet, David. I haven't started a book. I have been so busy, like writing music and trying to finish a book that I started in February. That is a really good book. I just haven't had time to like dedicate any energy to it.
But we know your hustle. We see your hustle online.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I'm glad that's being seen. Sorry, what was that?
No, I was saying, like, it's very true. We shouldn't compare ourselves, because it's all over the place. It's still, it's still goals and try to purposely go forward. But yeah, also be okay and be happy with yourself and where you are.
I think that's because, I mean, if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to do the things that we would like to do, or give back in the ways we'd like to, right? So it's not like a self-absorbed, selfish thing. It's just take care of yourself. I mean, you can't do much if you're not feeling well, or if you're not feeling inspired. And there's, David, what you just said just now kind of triggered like something that one of my producers, Chris, said to me a long time ago, which was, there's many different roads to success or to achieving a goal. Like the three of us could have the same goal and the same expectations for ourselves, but how we get there and the path that we take is going to be very different, probably. Like I know, Emma, you do a lot of live shows, you do a lot of tours, you get out on the road, and I think it's amazing, and I admire that, and I wish that I had the ability, the time, the resources to do that. It's unfortunately just it's not something that I can do. So what I chose to do was my path was much more like online, like building up my fan base and my audience through YouTube and Instagram, and like that's where I dedicated, and Facebook, of course, and that's where I dedicated my time. But how ultimately what we're both achieving isn't different. It's it's us working towards our goals just in different ways. And I think that's kind of it can be relatable across whatever goal or whatever occupation you have, like in David's case, or you know, even just the folks watching this now, if their objective is to just get schoolwork done and be happy, or, you know, love their family even more. So, I mean, whatever it is, I'm kind of throwing out random examples.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important to kind of figure out what it is that that is success. And this is something that I've been struggling with since I was 5 years old and told my mom I wanted to be a famous singer. She's like, okay, what does success look like? I'm like, I don't know. Originally, it was making a full-time, you know, making a living from doing music, because that's not something that is very easy to do, especially coming from New Zealand. You know, like making a full-time living off of art is really hard, and I've been doing it successfully for the last 5 years. So cool. What's a success look like now?
Well, I think it's always creating milestones for yourself, right? I mean, it's about just, it's like a business plan in a way, right? So, I mean, you have to kind of think of it that way. You have to think of it in a creative sense, but also like, okay, what are my goals, the tiers, you know, how am I going to level up, whatever it is, you know, and then it once you achieve that, however long it takes, then you move to the next goal. I mean, you know, for me, I started off with achievable goals in the beginning, and then eventually I started kind of upping it and you know, getting it, kind of making things a bit more challenging. And then when I got to those, then I was like, okay, great, on to the next, and creating more challenging stretch goals for myself. So yeah.
And I think you're right though. The business side of things versus creative is something that a lot of artists fail miserably at or are learning about. David, you've got a background in business, don't you? Or you've
you mean like in show business or in business?
Show business. Like your business acumen, as well as being a creative, is admirable from what I can see. You know, you do. I don't know if you feel that you're deserving of that, but I don't know. I feel like you've got a really good show business head on your shoulders.
Yeah, I just kind of grew up in it, so maybe that's part of the reason why. Just like you were talking about being 5 years old and saying you're going to be, you know, a famous singer, and what does that mean? Let's see, I think I was like 3 and break at the county fair, and got picked up by a modeling agency then. So that was,
of course you did.
Nice.
My childhood from 3 to 16 was all acting and modeling, and so that's probably where I just picked it up, just learning from everyone around me. You know, and what does this camera do, and why do you do this? Oh, okay, and you should ask for half of your money up front for this type of product, and blah blah blah. So yeah, so maybe it's just kind of grown into me, and you know, I'm now in the whole leveling up stage. I'm entering into the old man Dave stage, so I'm trying to, you know, I'm moving into that, you know, that disciple.
He's lying, everybody. He's 25 years old, just so y'all know.
I don't remember what 25 was like. That was a long while ago.
I have no idea how old you are. I feel like everybody in this city just looks like they're like 20, 30 years younger than they are.
We like to keep.
Well, it's because we all love what we do, you know, and I think when we find joy in the stuff that we do, it keeps the wrinkles away.
I feel you.
I just had my birthday.
I know.
Yeah, I just celebrated my birthday last Sunday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
And you turned 25 as well, didn't you?
I did, plus 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, girl, get it.
We're all
Yes. Okay.
We'll just 25.
Yeah.
We're all 25 plus something, right?
My first ever specific music job was working at a cabaret bar with drag queens. I was
nice.
in a very homophobic city that they needed an actual woman to help alleviate the fact that they were in a drag bar. But we'd get these birthday parties in all the time, and one of the favorite things was like, you're 21 with a few years experience. I think that's, I can gel with it. I'm 17 with a few years experience.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I think now more than ever, age is just a number, right? I mean, Aaliyah had it right when she wrote that song, so.
I mean, she was also,
Yeah. Yeah, rest in peace, Leah.
No, I just learned her song "Try Again" the other day, and then got into this very heated discussion about Alia's relationship with R. Kelly, who that song was written about, and he was considerably older than her. But
oh yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Awkward. Cool. So, how are you guys? I mean, besides pivoting to these online platforms, what is it that's helping you stay sane during this time?
Personally, so I'll put the professional stuff aside for a second. Personally, I've been just trying to connect, and in some cases reconnect with family and friends as much as possible. Whether that's just over the phone or sending messages or FaceTiming and what have you. I found that now more than ever, people are kind of craving that kind of interaction. I mean, I personally am, and some of my other friends, I think we're all making time to do that. Whereas before it'd be so much easier to not put it off because we don't want to. It's just more like, you're ripping and running and you're driving here or flying there or doing whatever, and I've got all these things going on, and all these things going on still exist, but not having the opportunity to commute or travel to places gives us back some of that time. I do feel like more people are learning the benefits of being night owls, like you and I are. So I found that a lot more of my friends and family are up, later. So now I have more access to them than I did before. And I go for walks sometimes in my neighborhood just to get some fresh air. I have 2 dogs, so I'm kind of forced to do that anyway. But they love it because the walks are longer, and we explore new places together sometimes. I'm grateful that I do have my 2 pups to keep me company, though. I think that they bring me, they keep me sane, and they bring me a lot of joy, and they do silly, cute, adorable things all the time. So it's not hard to stay sane when I've got Buster and Baloo in my life.
So I would say, especially in the art category, is finding a project that is just for fun. So that's one of the things, maybe even stepping out of the norm. So kind of circling back to the things we already discussed, video, streaming, photography, that's the norm. That's what it normally happens. I love filmmaking. I don't do it a lot all the time, but like what I like to do is make some type of narrative film once every 6 months or once a year, do something that really is a creative push of all talents in all of our groups. So right now I'm working on a short film, and we're doing it remotely, which means there's no camera, there's no lighting. So how can we do that? So we have to work on the solutions. Again, we're adapting. So what we did was we had a friend of mine wrote a really fun short film, and we read it, and I was like, we got to make this. And she's like, we can't. And I was like, yes, we can. We can draw it because that's what people have done before. So right now we're working on a semi-animated 3 to 4 minute short film, and we recorded all of our audio via Zoom. We all sat around the table and read the script, and then I used the recording of the Zoom to do our first rough cut of the storyboard, and just use that audio and mixed in some like stolen pictures from the internet to kind of figure out what goes here and what goes there, some stick figure drawings. And so
that's so cool.
That's amazing.
It's a fun project, and now that we have that drawn out, we went back to all the actors. These are all professional actors and video makers this was literally around the country. This is 2 people from LA and then 3 here from the DC area. And we then set up another session where we all met over Zoom in one form. So let's say we all were on Zoom on a laptop, and then the actor who's doing their isolated records was either using a professional microphone because they have a podcast. Who doesn't have a podcast? They're using their podcast mic, or people had their iPhone. And what we did was we told them, if they have a phone, take the phone, put it on a pillow, go into your closet full of clothing, and record in there, because it actually sounds pretty good. A phone on a pillow in a closet, it isolates things pretty well. That it sounds remarkably well.
Interesting. Okay.
So we got that done, and so now I've got audio, and I've got 4 or 5 seconds of video animated. That's the slow part, is actually hand drawing animation and getting all that done. So that's the next step. So that's like, anytime I'm like, I've got nothing to do, I'm immediately like, no, we need to start drawing. We need to get some things down on paper and move on. So that type of thing has really been helpful.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
I want to know more about this animated film.
I like when I'm sitting around like I don't have anything to do, I just go to my kitchen and eat more food.
that too, for sure.
I'm constantly hungry.
See, it's funny. As soon as this quarantine hit, like how I was saying that I felt like the universe was telling me to slow the F down. So I kind of was like, okay, cool. I'm going to work on my vocal health and I'm going to work on my physical health. So I started intermittent fasting. So I'm actually only eating like 7 hours out of the day. And the rest of the time I'm like, okay, not eating. Don't even think about food. Don't even look at it. Don't even touch it. Like,
you look amazing, by the way. I was going to say, because I just like as I've been seeing your posts and, they're almost like a timeline progression of the progress that you've made, right? No, you look amazing.
Muscles back, baby.
Absolutely. And hey, I hear you, because I, just not that we're turning this into like a nutrition and diet podcast or anything, but I mean, you remember, you came to my album release party in July 2018. I was about to say 2018. And that year was like the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. And I look back on those pictures and I'm just like, oof, like, oh my goodness, they've been immortalized because, it was a big moment for me, but I wasn't going to not take pictures. But yeah, I mean, if I could go back in time and have told myself to do what I did, but anyway, that seeing all of that kind of encouraged me and forced me to, like you said, take care of myself. So January 1st last year, 2019, I made a New Year's resolution and stuck with it and did keto and intermittent fasting and have been doing it ever since. So
that's awesome.
I lost 40 pounds since the album release party.
Jeepers.
All right.
Yeah.
2 of you are gonna open up a new fitness and music account.
Well, oh my gosh, that's an idea. That's a business idea.
And that's like, for the musician, yeah.
Singing gym sessions or something. Hey, singing is Emma, it's a workout. It is, because you're singing and you have to, I definitely like get sweaty whenever I do a set, because I'm singing and I'm moving around and
you're lugging gear around. The thing for me is I envy you for being able to do keto. I'm vegetarian, so doing keto for me is just not an option. But yeah. Working out and just keep, I don't know. As a creative person, I think, there, especially in America, there are 5 facets of yourself, right? There's your mental, your physical, spiritual, emotional, and social. Yeah. Generally speaking, the United States only caters for maybe 1 or 2 of those things at a time. And as an artist, mentally and emotionally, we generally get catered for because of our creative outlet, but definitely not physically. Yeah. Our physical health is. Yeah.
Well, because it almost falls, sorry, I was just gonna say, it almost falls to the wayside because there's so many other things to prioritize before that, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I joke around and I say like I'm constantly eating all the time, but I'm eating like, healthy things and whatnot, but still, sorry, I didn't mean to derail us into a conversation about.
I'm laughing because I'm remembering like back to the video shoot that I had with David back in, what was it, February? I think we shot.
I don't even remember. I think it was February or January. Yeah, we shot it. Right. It was amazing. Yeah, it was fun.
It was so much fun. But I remember because I had all my outfits out and they were all quite skin tight. And granted, I'd gotten a lot healthier and since my breakup last year. But I remember thinking as I'm sitting there in the studio on the stool while David's in my face with his camera, and I'm like, Is this, I keep asking him, is this like a close-up or is this like a medium close-up? Can you see my, suck it in, girl.
That was all in your head. None of that needed to be done.
Isn't it funny the things that we kind of, tell ourselves, or the self-messaging, the negative self-messaging we sort of give ourselves. I don't know.
We're always our toughest critics, right? But I will say this, right, for all the folks watching, especially, the women out there who I think there's a lot of pressure to always have our bodies, in shape and perfect and all that. I think this goes back to the whole take care of yourself and do what kind of makes you happy, right? Mm. Gain that quarantine 10 or quarantine 15. If you're finding comfort and joy in an extra scoop of ice cream, there shouldn't be any, and you talk a lot about this in your posts at times, and I know you've written about it too. It's like, there shouldn't be body shaming, right? So I think so anyway, I just wanted to kind of mention that because I don't want there to be this perception that here comes this other the same messaging that women need to lose weight and stuff. I did it because that was what I felt I needed to do, and I wanted to feel better. The weight loss was just a very nice, happy side effect, but now I have more energy. I'm, physically able to do more things and whatnot. So yeah.
I want to add to that. Oh, sorry, David. Go.
I was agreeing and just saying, we're all in these bodies for a certain period of time. So best you can, but at the same time, you also enjoy the life you have, because imagine having the best shape ever, but you never tasted ice cream. Was that really life?
That would be tragedy. It would be, or no chocolate, or so last year when I started doing keto, I was religiously sticking to it for 4 months straight. And then my birthday weekend, I had first time in 4.5 months, I ate carbs, real carbs, fried food and ice cream and sugar and cupcakes and all this stuff. I did a 3-day carb fest. So this past weekend was my second annual birthday weekend carb fest.
Love it.
It was amazing.
I just want to add, because you mentioned specifically for women, the men in my life have the exact same problem of it's not women are encouraged to be skinny and with big boobs and whatever. Where I come from, with no butt, where we live now, I'm encouraged to have a butt. It's weird. It's been a bit of a mental but I also noticed that a lot of the conversations that I have, especially because I lift weights, all of the men in my life are having the exact opposite of problems. You need to be more muscular, you need to be heavier, you need to be looking a certain type of way. Sorry, I don't mean to mansplain.
Oh no, you're all good. I was just saying we all grow the neck beard to cover the second chin.
Oh,
is that clever?
Oh, I like that. See, I wish I could do that. I have no beard.
That is what's going on when you see the neck.
That's what contouring is for.
No, this is awesome. Hey, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you for chatting with me about how you're staying safe, staying sane, spreading love and joy with the world through video, through animated film, through music and empowerment on your live streams. Before we take off today, is there anything that you would like to sort of promote or tell people about before, so they can find you, or whatever?
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
Oh, sure. So the animated film is nowhere near being done, so I can't promote that. So I would say if you want to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, go ahead. It's AD79Dave. So in the year of our Lord, Anno Domini 79 Dave. That tells you how old I am. Boom. And then the one thing I do want to plug, I have a friend. So I'm sorry, I'm probably taking too much time, but going back about at the beginning of pivoting, I have a video producer friend who's in the video producing circle, and she started producing a online game show that is absolutely the best thing of every Wednesday night of our lives now. She's done where it's all DC people, singles, who are all trying to meet each other and talk via Zoom, and you get to watch. as an anonymous audience member. And like we chatted each other, and it's great. And it's like this great thing. It's called The Game Show of Love. You can find it on Facebook, but it's absolutely amazing. And it's the perfect example of this pivot where someone had a certain set of skills doing something in person has now swapped their skills to move their business in a different direction. So it's really interesting. So really plug in that.
Has any of it worked yet? Has she made couples?
There actually was a couple that went on a virtual date and let the audience join them last week. So you can watch that on Vimeo right now, I think. So
That's so cool.
Watch an actual date happen via Zoom. It's amazing, awkward, and beautiful all at the same time. Like life.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Who needs a
I'm
bachelor
open
when
the
you've
best
got
of times.
a Zoom virtual dating show?
That's amazing.
Like when you hear someone talk about, yeah, I'm on 14th Street, and it's like, yeah, it's local and organic. So it's like
That's so funny.
So
that's cool. That's cool. Carl?
Yeah. So I kind of forgot what the question was again. Like, so, oh, right.
Brag about yourself.
Yes. So every Sunday since this all began, I think my first session was like March 26th or something like that, or the weekend before. I wanted to get out there and reach out to people and again, try to lift people's spirits for an hour or so. So every Sunday I do what's called Social Solidarity Sunday, because I know we're social distancing, but I feel like we're all in this together, and I'm trying to encourage people to kind of come together in that moment of solidarity. But basically they're virtual happy hours, and it's a chance for folks to ask questions and things. But the other main objective is that in addition to, of course, singing and interacting with the audience, I've been raising awareness and encouraging people to do what they can to try to help, combat COVID-19, the impacts of COVID-19 rather, and help lift people's spirits during all of this in whatever way that they can and are able to. So whether it's, calling on an elderly relative or neighbor, checking in on them, or even like a single friend, right? Mm-hmm. People who live by themselves and don't have dogs like me, or cats or whatever like you, or finding ways that they can contribute to the community and things like that. So I do talk about some of the charities that I've been choosing to support and the fundraisers that I've specifically set up for Feeding America, Direct Relief, Sweet Relief Musicians Fund for COVID-19, and the Humane Society's Pets for Life program. And part of what I say too is that, listen, if you can donate, great. If you can't, no worries, because I've actually pledged to donate 100% of my music royalties from all the streaming and things like that. Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, all of that. So I kind of try to encourage people to indirectly donate that way. So I'll be doing those donations. Actually, I'll be doing one next week for the April royalties that I just got an email notification about. So that's exciting. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but just every little bit helps. And I think, if there's a way that people can donate, great. If not, that's one way they can do it indirectly. But yeah. So yeah, and if anyone wants to stream my music and find my music, I can link it up in the comments later, or you guys can all check me out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. My handle is vocal, but it's spelled with my name. So it's spelled VOKHAL. We all love puns. So that's how people can find me on the internets. Yeah.
Internets.
Yeah.
Interwebs.
The interwebs.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're amazing, Emma, for doing these. These are awesome.
I'm so humbled and thankful that you think that, because I'm literally just trying to do what I can do at the moment. The world's a crazy place, but crazy meets crazy. Let's be, let's uplift, let's motivate, let's inspire together, because we are a community and it's important that we come together as a community. So on that note, thank you everybody for listening in today. Be good, be kind to each other, spread love like it's going out of fashion. And don't forget to call your mum. Peace, love, and video making magic with musical magic and dogs and cameras and cats and everything else, and a camera. Yes.
Yeah.
Or is that a glass of bourbon? I'm not sure. Be good, guys.
Bye. Take care, guys. Be safe.